Hi, this is Jim Fagan, and welcome to Fagan Realty Group's YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking about an exciting new development that is just underway. It'll be the largest development in Charlotte since the construction development of the Ballantyne area.
Hey, Jim. So I keep hearing about this development that's taking place over in West Charlotte that's something crazy like 1,400 acres. What in the world is it? Do you know anything about it?
That's exactly right. So it's called the River District, and the area of the city, it's the single largest undeveloped part of the city of Charlotte, which is kind of hard to believe. And it's over near the airport, and that kind of explains why. Because in a lot of cities, uh, much of the land in and around an airport is undeveloped just because of the noise, right, that's generated from an airport. So this, if you look on a map, and we'll put a map on the screen, is the 1,400 acres is just west of 485, right there where the airport is, and it goes all the way to the Catawba River, which feeds into Lake Wylie nearby, and then also Lake Norman to the north. So the River District was first envisioned in the early 1990s by a very prominent person here in Charlotte, Johnny Harris. Some of you may know his name. He's the head of Quail Hollow Country Club and kind of runs the Wells Fargo golf tournament the PGA event that comes to Charlotte in May. He's also, his father or his grandfather, Cameron Morrison, was a governor and had his original dairy farm on what today is the South Park area. And then he also owned the land. He had a quail preserve, Governor Morrison did, right where Quail Hollow Country Club is today. And it was his son, John Harris, who's the father of Johnny Harris, but Mr. Harris was the one who developed Quail Hollow Country Club in the 70s. But Governor Morrison had an incredible vision, and he bought thousands of acres of land all in the outskirts of Charlotte. I mean, think about this. This guy was the governor of North Carolina in the 20s. So he bought 2,000 acres of land out what is now Ballantyne. I mean, we think about that kind of far out today, but imagine in the 20s. I mean, Myers Park and Dilworth were just starting to be developed, and they were considered a couple of the first two suburbs in the city. So to have the kind of vision that this guy had 100 years ago is kind of amazing. So in the same time period that Johnny Harris is already thinking about what's now we call the River District, it didn't have that name then. He and his brother-in-law, Smokey Harris, were starting to put together the final plan for what today is Ballantyne. So they envisioned developing Ballantyne into something very similar to what the River District is going to become. It was going to be a mix of office, residential, like single family condos. So when we talk about residential, we're thinking about things that people can own. And then multifamily, which are apartments, and then retail. And they knew at that time, so 485 was not built at all, but the first part to be built was going to be the southern leg that now goes through Ballantyne and below South Charlotte. So they knew what the planned route of that was going to be, and it was right on the north side of what now is Ballantyne. I don't know this factually, but I suspect that the two of them had some significant influence over where that route came out. But so fast forward to today, and what Ballantyne looks like is it's got 4.4 million square feet of office. It's one of the four largest office markets in the city, in addition to South Park, South End, and Uptown, which still has the largest amount of office space. It's got a couple thousand single family homes and condos. It has the Ballantyne Country Club, which is a Reese Jones golf course, and then it has tons of retail, as you know. And of course, that area has gotten significantly larger with other development outside of what we think about legally as Ballantyne proper. So the vision that Johnny had for that area is exactly what is carrying over into the River District. So on that 1,400 acres, they are planting a good bit of green space, which I think is great, right? We think about us not having enough trees around the city that people save as more development comes to Charlotte. But they're going to have, I mean, this is the thing that really astounded me. 8 million, I think it was actually 8.8 million square feet of office space. So it will ultimately, and it will probably take 10, 15 years for the River District to fully develop out, but it'll be the second largest office market outside of Uptown. That's kind of astounding when you think about how far away it is from Uptown. It will have, I think it was a couple of thousand homes for sale.
Yeah, Jim, I'm reading about the River District now as we're talking about it, and it says that there's going to be 2,300 single-family homes. Do you think that's a large enough amount of homes to be able to help with pricing in the Charlotte area?
Well, it depends upon on what you mean by pricing. I don't think it's going to cause prices to go down. I do think, though, that's adding a significant number of new homes to the area, and the only way that the most significant way that we can end the inventory shortage is for new homes to be built. And the reason for that is that you're not displacing a family who then needs to go find another place to live. When someone like me, if I sell my house, well, I got to find some place to live. So having those 2,300 homes is going to have a significant impact. So I think from a pricing perspective, what that could do is just maybe slow the increase of prices in Charlotte.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point. And so as you talk about the River District in comparison to Ballantyne, do you ultimately see this development as Ballantyne west of the city, basically, but obviously a newer development and something that'll probably have a little bit different flavor to offer the broad consumer?
I think it's going to be very much like Ballantyne.
Okay.
I do. I mean, it'll certainly have its own kind of flavor, right? But having the office, the retail, it's going to have, gosh, I mean, several thousand apartments, and then all the single family residential. I think it's going to be very much like that, and it would be the type of place like Ballantyne where you literally could live there, you could work there, and you could play there.
It will have 2,350 multifamily residential units, 2,300 homes, as I mentioned, 1,000 hotel rooms, 550 acres of open space, and it'll have 500,000 square feet of retail to go along with the 8 million square feet of office space.
Yeah,
so it's going to have a lot going on.
With 500,000 of retail square footage, you'll have a couple of grocery stores. You might have a super Walmart, and there's going to be a lot of nice shops and nice restaurants out there ultimately.
Yeah. Well, that's really great. I appreciate you sharing all this, Jim, because this is a huge development here in Charlotte, and specifically in West Charlotte. Is there anything else that we need to let our viewers know about this specific development as we wrap things up?
Well, I'm fascinated by history, and particularly the history of Charlotte. And I'll just say this lastly that I kind of hinted at this in the beginning. But here, Johnny Harris was in the throes of beginning to develop Ballantyne. I can't imagine the hours that took, right, for he and his team. And again, he didn't own the land, the Dixie Berry Hill land, that's now going to be the River District. But he was such a visionary, kind of like I imagine like his grandfather must have been, that he was already thinking about, hey, maybe in about 30 years, we need to develop this land. Like, who thinks 30 years in advance? I know I don't in my business or my personal life. He's had such a positive impact on our city, and I appreciate men like him. Certainly he's a businessman, he wants to make money, but he also has had a huge impact in what Charlotte is today.